the Graphs and Functions unit, we're going to learn how to plot points on a grid and on a graph, and to interpret the algebra that you learned in the last unit in a way that makes sense in the real world. And to use that, we're going to use what's known as a coordinate system, or we could call it plotting points on a grid, and they look something like this. And sorry about that. And on the grid system, or the coordinate system, we have what are known as two axes. There's the x-axis, which is this one. It's also known as the horizontal axis. The y-axis is this one that goes straight up and down. So if I'm looking for an x value, I'm going to be looking horizontally, and if I'm looking for a y value, I'm going to be looking straight up and down. Now, you've probably used a coordinate system before and maybe just not realized it. When we try and find a place on a map, a city in an atlas or a country in an atlas, or if we're using a map book of Halifax to find a specific street, we use a coordinate system. And if you've ever played the old-fashioned game Battleship, you would also have used a coordinate system there. But instead of having an x-axis and a y-axis, in Battleship, you have a number axis, which goes along here, and you have an alphabet axis, which goes along here. So instead of x and y, you'd be saying, do you have a point at F4, or 4F, sorry. So I'd go, here's 4, and here's F, and I'd say, yes, I do. You sunk my battleship. And on a street map of Halifax, I might be saying, oh, well, where's Point Pleasant Park? And along one side, again, I would have the alphabet. And along the bottom, I would have a number system. So I might say, oh, Point Pleasant Park can be found at 6 and F. So I'd go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's line 6. And here's the letter F. And there's Point Pleasant Park. So what we are going to be doing in the Graphs and Function units is very, very similar to that. So how do I figure out where a point is on the grid? Well, remember, we already said that there's an x-axis. That's this line here is the x-axis, and this line here is the y-axis. And all points give us an x and a y. X comes first, because in math, we're still alphabetical. X comes before y. So all points are going to look like that. X, then y. So, for example, if I'm looking for point A, which is here, sorry, right there, there's point A. How do I know what the coordinates for point A are? Well, first of all, I have to figure out what is the x-coordinate for A. So, okay, so let's see, where is the x value for A? There it is. So the x value for A is at 1. So my x value for A is 1. And what's the y value? The y value for A is going to be, well, there it is. The y value is 3. So my point for A is 1, 3. 1 is the x value, 3 is the y value. Let's look at point B now. So here's point B. So how do I know what the coordinates are for B? So I'm going to look at what is the x value. So I'm going to go down to the x line. And the x line, there it is. You see, the x value for point B is 3. So it's 3. And what's the y value going to be? The y value, go across here, the y value is 4. So for point B, my coordinates are 3 and 4. So one of the things we didn't really talk about is this point right in the middle. So the point right in the middle, where the two axes meet, is called the origin. And the origin is where x is 0 and y is 0. And the x-axis, remember this line here, y is always 0 when I have a point along that axis. And this line, the y-axis, x is always 0 along that line. And that's going to become important for the next point. So let's take a look at point D, for example. So here's point D. What are the coordinates for point D? Well, D is right on the x-axis. So I can just look, where is it on the x-axis? And it's on 3. So the x value for D is 3. But we already said that for any point along the x-axis, y is 0. So for D, my point is 3 and 0. So let's take a look at point C. Here's point C up here. What are the coordinates for point C? Well, the first thing we have to do is go and find our x value. So our x value is going to be down here, and our x value right there you can see is -2. So for C, my point is -2. And what is my y value going to be? And I go across to y, my y value is going to be 5. So for point C, my coordinates are -2 and 5. I want you to think about E now and see if you can figure out E for yourself. I'm just going to pause for a minute and see if you can figure it out. Well, for E, if we look at it and we go up to the x-axis, so yeah, we actually have to go up this time. There's x right there at -4. So for E, our point is -4. And if we go across to the y-axis, we're at -2. So E is at -4 and -2. F, our x value is -4, our y value is 2. For G, now G is right on the y-axis, so here's G. So I can remember, if we go back to what I said, all the x values, if a point is right on the y-axis, x has to be 0. See, because there's 0 right there in the middle, so that's my x value. My y value is going to be where the point actually is, so G is 0 and 4. H, if I follow it up to the x-axis, my x value is 2. My y value is -3. For I, my x value is -1. My y value is -4. I think I left one out. J. Let's take a look at J. Here's J. My x value is 5. My y value is -1.